Last time on Who Knows God audiobook.
I've been getting money here and there on the streets since before you was born. Them jobs don't always come in where we from, kid. But you know what? He apparently changed his mind about convincing her to see things his way. We gonna see what course you take, cause your time is coming. I've been teaching you your whole life about being a leader, about being uppermost, and the principles inherent of God's path, about not following stupid-ass men, supporting them in their corporations that thrive and stay 2 steps ahead of your poor black ass with the purchase of their goods and services and the time you spend peddling for them. I tried to keep my time and my money for y'all. Now I got the time and a little bit of money, and y'all mad at how I got it. So now you in search of a lost bounty. We'll see if you follow his path or the path I've dedicated my life to showing you, to proving you isn't there. She effectively opened her stride and put Angelica Coleman from Brown in her wake as well. Hollis could see the runner in first place and could hear and feel the roar of the crowd going berserk, edging her on. She had her inner ambition to stare down the young lady in the eyes when she caught and passed her, which she was vehemently closing in on doing. In the middle of a stride, Hollis pulled back in an ambivalent state of extreme pain and anger. Shit! Are you crazy or something? The question came from among the panel of PMS sisters seated at the front of the room. Yeah, I'm crazy, but I ain't no fucking weak, and I don't quit. I train. Hollis pounded her fist into her open hand, producing a loud smack of flesh. Hard for what I want. She sat back content that she said what was necessary to convey her point, which eased her nerves. And I get what I want. Well, do you want PMS? One of the sisters asked. Hollis was grilling Priscilla, who was staring at her. She reached down and grabbed a DL bag from under her seat. Nah, I'm good. Fuck this. After your TAP, Pell, and your scholarships from Harlem Learns, Mrs. Harrington, Hollis's financial aid advisor, punched a final set of numbers into a calculator and handed it to Hollis. That's what your student account balance is going to be headed into the fall once they pull your track scholarship. She sat back and looked at Hollis, wishing there was more she could do for her. Take out loans, as many of them as you need to finish. Get your parents to co-sign. You said your mom is an academic counselor, right? Yeah, Hollis said, trying to regain her spirits after the discouraging news. What about Dad? He has a stable job? Hollis scratched her head and looked away at nothing in particular. When she looked back at Mrs. Harrington, she was still eyeballing her and waiting for a response. Hollis looked back down at the calculator. What about your father? Huh? Hollis asked. Unit 3, Chapter 2. Thelma, Louise, y'all have a nice day. Date, June 1st, 2007. That boy or man or whatever been looking over here for the past 5 minutes. Hollis looked up from her magazine down the subway platform. Who? He couldn't have been any younger than 30. Posted against a column on the uptown side, grabbing at his crotch and apparently talking to his friends about her and or Gwinn. Hollis flashed a $1 million smile and waved him over. Come here, she said. Grinning as if he'd won whatever game he was playing in his mind, he whispered something to his partner, then strode over with the swag of a star athlete. Ew, no, Gwinn said as if her skin were crawling. Don't worry, sis. I got this. What up, shorty? The guy asked as he approached. Hollis screwed up her face and rolled her neck. I'm taller than you. How you gonna call me shorty? Yeah, you know, it's a figure of speech or whatever. Who cares? She motioned her head towards his friend standing beneath the 110th Street sign. What did you say to him before you came over here? What? He asked. She began to speak condescendingly clear. What did you say to him before you came over here? He stuttered. Hollis turned to Gwinn. Bullshit, brother. Gwinn busted out laughing and covered her mouth as if she somehow felt out of order. Yo, hold on, shorty. I'm from Bed-Stuy. I ain't no bullshit, brother. Fall back with all that. I told my homeboy to watch me bag this bitch's number. That's what I said. But fuck it. I don't even think I want that shit no more. Hollis smiled, standing stern and in command of her near 6 foot stature as she continued to manipulate the conversation whichever way she chose. You don't want my number? She asked. Yo, shorty, you like Jeopardy on a train or some shit. You trying to get me your math or what? My train is coming. Hollis turned to her younger sister. What you think? Should I give him my number? Gwen's face was barely visible beneath her white K-Swiss baseball cap. She held her tender hand up and pointed her thumb down. Nah, I'm sorry. My sister isn't feeling you. I could respect that. Thelma, he turned and looked at Gwinn. Louise, y'all have a nice day. Hollis was in NYC for the month-long intermission between the end of the spring semester and the beginning of the summer classes. She was taking 3 business courses and working a summer job with an insurance company that promised to have her promoted to manager and opening her own office within a year. Gwinn kept her sister abreast on the latest uptown styles and all of the drama in the hood. Among other things, Reggie, Hollis's ex-boyfriend, was in jail for assault charge he caught on 125th Street after someone tried to snatch his gold chain. Junior had a flock of player haters in the projects due to the fact that Harlem hardly saw him and his musical content went from hard to sweet. The Jessica gang had been increasingly terrorizing the neighborhood as they were now controlling the loose cigarette and PCP dipper hustles, while banging on innocent people as an initiation rite. Hollis and Gwinn were taking a 2 train to Hoyt Street in Brooklyn so Hollis could pick up as much cotton fabric as she could for $250. They rode and talked away. And so, it came to pass that through all the trouble in her life, Hollis not only held on to, but grew in her faith. When financial trouble lurked, Hollis continued praying at both ends of the day, before each meal, and in the shower. It came to pass that the loose, flimsy twists in her hair kinked up and grew livelier, stronger. It came to pass that Hollis met the best financial aid advisor at SBU, who stopped her panicking and got her planning. After all her secret loan and grant hookup processes, the financial aid office was sending Hollis money back. It came to pass that Hollis transformed a drawing that she made while bored in class and teaching from her father into a small idea, and that idea into a strand of ideas. And Hollis Jordan was about to bet her natural ass on those ideas. The word went forth. 9:03 p.m. the same night. When Hollis and Gwinn got back to Hollis's mom's in Hicksville, they found an unusually packed, lively place. Aunt Simone and Denise were sitting in the living room talking. Dominique, who Hollis barely noticed due to her new haircut, was sitting in the dining room with Renee messing around on the computer. Aunt Simone embraced Hollis, whom she hadn't seen since she left off to school. Hey, Auntie. Hey, baby, how you doing? I can't complain. What is this? Aunt Simone asked after hugging Hollis and grabbing a section of her coarse plaited hair. That's my hair, Auntie, she answered as if she didn't feel like entertaining people with her appearance. That's what you call it? Where's my girl? Renee stuck past Aunt Simone and reached out to embrace Hollis. After greeting everyone, Hollis took Gwinn, her girls, and shopping bags to the privacy of her bedroom upstairs. Okay, so guess who's pregnant? Dominique said as she shut the door. Who? Kalia from Foster. Get out of here. It's Rick's baby? Yup. And she's not the only one pregnant either, Dominique said as she eyeballed Renee, who took a seat on Hollis's dresser. So how did you do in school this semester, honey? Renee cut in. Your girl got 4 A's and a B in calculus. That's my girl. Renee gave her a 5, sincerely happy for her. You setting the right standard for the next 3 years. Hollis walked over to Gwinn, who took a seat on her bed, and grabbed a shoebox from one of the shopping bags. Actually, next semester is probably going to be my last semester there. Her words seemed to rile the room with curiosity. Renee hopped to her feet. Why, you transferring? Nah. Hollis looked into the mirror and began taking off her jewelry. I'm starting my own business. June 19th, 2007. Hollis grabbed a bathroom bucket and towel before opening the room door. The shower had become a sort of asylum, a place of solace for her. She didn't have to say or do anything, and she was in a perpetual state of cleanliness, which she understood to be next to godliness. On this particular morning, the apartment that she was subleasing for the summer smelled like tobacco, marijuana, and sweaty feet. Hollis peeked in the living room and saw Jeremy asleep in a fold-out chair against the wall. She walked in further. Derek was asleep on the love seat with Tiffany. Her roommate passed out on his lap. Empty bottles of Devil Springs, Hennessy, and Belvedere were scattered across the table. She turned back for the bathroom before noticing what seemed like every cup and plate in the apartment scattered in and around the kitchen sink. 7:51 a.m. the same morning. "What's up, honey baby?" Gay Jeff greeted as he stepped into his freshly waxed car. Hollis waved from across the parking lot. "How you doing?" "I'm good, and yourself?" "I'm blessed." "I heard that, girl." Jeff snapped, crackled, and popped his happy ass into his Jetta. Hollis walked along Bryce Road to the Academic Center for our 8:40 a.m. macroeconomics course. It was over 90 degrees in Northern Virginia, and Hollis felt every bit of it on her near half-hour walk from the campus apartments to Mosley Hall. The students who were fortunate enough to have their own cars passed her by in luxury. She stayed strong as she knew they were watching. She was a former track star and popular among her peers. Although she increasingly sought not to be seen, Hollis had an undeniable attractive force, and at nearly 6 feet tall, she was a standout presence. People couldn't help but look. Those who chose to stare were frequently mistaking her nowadays, judging her as passive, weak, and or weird, as her mind often drifted to some far-off place to ponder on the advanced endeavors of her life. 9:17 a.m., the same day. And once the company has reached its break-even point, then it can truly become profitable. The business has its capital assets, liquid assets, working capital, and there is a demand for the product and or service. This may take a couple of years, but for the company, it'll be well worth the wait. Professor Wong was a clean-cut, handsome Korean gentleman who Hollis came to find a mild attraction to. He was a sharp dresser, witty, and had a smooth way of conveying his business wisdom, all of which helped make his 120-minute lecture a little easier. Is it necessary for the business to switch up its strategies at that point in order to continue to grow? Hollis made sure to sit in the front row and to ask at least one question per class. That was her second for the day. "I'm glad you asked that. That's actually going to depend on the nature of the business and the consumer demand, as well as a few other dynamics." 2 days later. "Tell me what you see." "I see the sky, stars. What else?" Young Hollis found discomfort in not following her father's line of thought. She lifted her eyes from the telescope lens to the ceiling. Uh, she tapped at her honey brown chin. "I don't know," she said as she dropped her head, growing disappointed in herself. "Here, look again. Don't get upset. God will enlighten you degree by degree, baby. Right now, you just have to trust your eyes. So, tell me what you see." She looked through the lens and tried to focus again. "Stars, outer space. Good, good. What else?" "Light. There's light over there." "Good." Something of the unknown woke Hollis. She indulged in the comfort of her sheets for a while. The woods outside of her window were pitch black and crawling with more of the unknown. She knew it was well after midnight because she lay down for a nap that she just woke up from a few minutes after 10 p.m. 1:01 a.m. the same night. Hollis went into a closet and pulled out a black t-shirt that she was using as a canvas to create a signature design for her clothing line that she had her mind set to birthing. She laid the shirt across the bed, still draped from the hanger. Before she took a nap, she stitched one of the Honeywell Urban Outfitters patches she ordered over the internet across the front. Hollis stood over her project and tried to think of the hottest compliment possible. She looked around the room and grabbed a whiteout stick from her SBU Lions cup and wrote across the front, from Harlem to Hollywood. She stood back and looked at her creation, and it failed to move her. She put the whiteout stick back and left the room. The apartment was devoid of light. Hollis walked into the living room and took a quiet seat on the couch and peacefully contemplated on what she learned in a year in college. It was as if God, for some reason only known to him, transcended her soul from the backwoods of Virginia to the hustle and flow of New York City. The filthy concrete of the projects and the multitude of people without, she was mentally there with them. In college, Hollis witnessed her peers, the near future leaders of the world, and the intellectually elite, dismissive of the problems of the poor and those without. She wondered if they knew. She didn't know until she found herself on certain trains late nights, leaving Reggie's house. That's when the homeless crept from the bowels of the city in search of a place to sleep. Until studying with Mr. Nieves, she didn't understand the depths of the effects of the transatlantic slave trade or the manifestation of mental slavery or mental inferiority among her brothers and sisters, but it was all starting to make sense. Hollis came to see academia's outline for the enhancement of society as too bureaucratic in nature, too ignorant of the people on the ground, and ultimately upholding a system that was brutally built on the backs of her ancestors. Hollis Jordan now stood as a woman who saw herself behind enemy lines, but she knew that no matter where she stood, she was on God's green earth, so she wasn't afraid to go. She sat in peace, trusting her eyes and judgment to distinguish truth from lies, as she bore witness to God's magnificence in his moonlit sky through the opening of her Venetian blinds. The devil was nowhere to be found. In her heart, Hollis desired to keep him away, so she got off the couch and went in the shower to cleanse her body and pray. 2:57 a.m. the same night. Hollis stood over her design, trying to twist thoughts out of her hair. Ideas were coming to her at an elevated rate. She felt like she could just reach into the sky and pull any one of them out, and it would be the one. She went back into her closet and pulled out a white t-shirt that was folded on the top shelf. She removed the metallic gold felt pen from her lion's cup and tried to write across the front. The instability of the cloth forced her to search for a platform to write on. She turned around and grabbed a copy of the Old Testament off of the desk and slipped it under the bottom of the shirt. In an elaborate penmanship, she transcribed across the front. Honeywell Urban Outfitters, established 2007. She stood back and looked at her creation, and she was pleased. And the signature design for Honeywell Urban Outfitters was manifested, and the word went forth. Within 2 weeks of the start of the fall semester 2007, Hollis had close to $11,000 in her bank account. She received 2 loan refund checks from Swanson Bryce, totaling over $5,000. She had another $2,400 remaining from the money she saved working at Harlem Learns in high school and her summer job. And she still had more than half of the money that her parents gave her at graduation. Hollis had her eyes on a pressing machine at JCPenney's that would gobble up $800 of her dollars. She bought her blank t-shirts from 23rd Street in the garment district of NYC for $28 a dozen. The studio apartment that she was going to lease in the Bronx, $800 per month. Trademark, vendor ID license, registration numbers, and website, $2,163.13. Starting a female-owned and operated sole proprietorship with the Lord's blessing, priceless. Hollis sat alone at her campus bus stop observing the day that the Lord made. It was the last day of September, 72 degrees and the ever slightest breeze. She was sporting a pair of Hugo Boss shades to protect her eyes from the harmful rays, chilling, almost to a criminal extent. Most people around her were rushing here or there. The campus shuttles were dropping off loads of students every few minutes. There was stress and confusion all about. Freshmen trying to find their lecture halls, others running late or chattering their freedom away on cell phones. Hollis had little concerns. Her heightened state of calm exceeded her like an aura. compelling stares of perplexity, admiration, and discontent from the people who couldn't understand her. It came to pass that Hollis began to sacrifice in the name of the Lord, continuously praying in the shower and keeping God ever present in her heart. It came to pass that her flimsy, unattractive twists grew into beautiful, strong ropes of human hair. It came to pass that God, or Al-Wahid, which means the one who is unequaled, restored her soul and removed the devil from within her. God, or Al-Haq, which means the truth, exposed her to the flawlessness in his laws, the infinite sustainability in his ways, and inspired her to fuel herself with the good things of the earth. Hollis folded her Elle magazine, kicked back and observed her fellow classmen rushing through their life. She felt exempt from the mundane drama, content within herself, content within the Lord's path for her and her positioning. She was resting. She looked up to the sky, humbled and gracious as she took another sip from her mocha latte. All praise be to you, she said. November 26, 2007. It's that damn gentrification. Property values went through the roof, cost of living went up. You know the damn pizza shop that moved in the same building with the fish market? I go in there for a slice, I don't know what the hell to stand in line for. I'm confused. You know what it is? What is it? Hollis asked, looking up from her writing and her notepad. The game is fucked up, Margot said before pulling out another cigarette. The game is fucked up. That's what it is. Hollis laughed for a second, then swiftly brought the conversation back to its course. So essentially, your storefront is on the internet now? That's what you're telling me? Yup. It has its pros and cons, but for what you're doing, I think it could really work, Margot said. Cool, cool. So what you need for me to get the website up and running? Margot spilled some of his coffee on his wool sweater. Damn it, shit. He excused himself from the table. I'm going to need your information so you can accept credit card payments online. You got a business account? He asked as he dabbed at the stain with a rag. No, Hollis said. Okay, so what you got to do is go downtown to the county recorder's office. Tell them you want to register your business name and get a DBA certificate. Take that paper they give you to the bank with 2 pieces of ID, and there you go. The whole process can be done in a day. Hollis checked the time on her wristwatch, then stood up and gathered her leather briefcase, which she began toting around religiously. The intensity in Hollis's eyes seemed familiar to Margot, as he'd seen her father do some strange things with that same seriousness. I'll be right back, she said. December 4th, 2007. Hollis approached finals week the same as she had in semesters past, with discipline and diligence. She made flashcards for key terms with definitions on the back. She took frequent study breaks, and she removed herself from all forms of communication. Grind mode. Although she was setting her plans to leave school at the end of the semester in pursuit of happiness, she wanted her final grades to reflect her capability, to show that she could, but she was choosing not to. Her bags were packed. More right to say, her everything was packed, save for her toiletries, laptop, and her books. She had 4 finals exams, 2 on Monday and the other 2 on Wednesday. Hollis was sitting at a study desk reviewing all of her highlighted sections in a microeconomics textbook. Beneath that, she had a spiral notebook and her Africans in America text. She was twisting her hair, and every few minutes, she would get up to stretch out a different body part. She was waiting on an instant message from Dominique to let her know if she liked the design she emailed, and she was eating her dinner. Multitasking had become a necessity for the deliverance of Hollis's clothing line. As for now, Hollis was her company. She used superset exercise routines that her father designed for her to work out twice the muscle in half the time. She maintained her hair while she contemplated issues. She read up on the industry while stretching, and she talked to God while jogging late nights. Efficiency manifested. December 9th, 2007. Hollis looked to her either side to see if it was safe to cross the street when a white minivan cut in front of her to make a sharp turn. You need a perm, baby, the fair-skinned sister shouted out to Hollis from the car as she sped off. December 9th, 2007. So I guess what I'm asking you, Denise, is will you be my wife? December 9th, 2007. Strip it, Jason demanded, grasping for oxygen as he racked the barbell. Take off the tens. I'm going to do another 6 reps. Forrest and Russell each removed the iron plate from the respective side of the barbell. Jason rose from the bench and flexed his lats in the mirror, showing off his massive upper body. Russell secured the collar on the side and stood clear. There you go, boss. December 9th, 2007. Uno out. No, I said Uno before you, Gwinn. You got to pick up your card and draw too. No, I don't. I'm out. Don't tell me what I got to do. I said it before you. You are such a cheater. Gwinn stood up, stepped over the pile of cards in the middle of the 6 train, and slapped Jocelyn across the face. Who the fuck you talking to? December 9th, 2007. I never said I wanted an abortion. That was you. You ain't want your perfect little family to know about us. I hate you. Renee used most of her strength to lift the brass lamp off the nightstand and sent it airborne at Junior's head. I fucking hate you. December 12th, 2007. Hollis sat next to a middle-aged Italian man on a 9:30 bus in New York. In the bus station, she managed to get 4 items checked off her to-do list. Emailing her brother, ordering a dress for her mother's wedding, putting the finishing touches on the hat design that she was working on, and checking her grades over the SBU automated system. Hollis took in trees, the open space, and the sense of peace that one could find on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. However, she didn't let herself get too naive about this. She understood that she was heading back to the belly of the beast. New York was going to test her. The devil ran rampant through the streets that she was going to solicit business. People would chastise for following the straight way and preaching the word, which Hollis found herself increasingly compelled to do as she got closer to God. She was ready, though. Hollis was ready. She had developed a work ethic that was uncanny, not likely to be matched. Yet and still, she was ever mindful not to underestimate what the next one could be doing. She was from the mecca of urban style, Harlem, where she made sure to keep in mind at the drawing board. Hollis had been piling up her righteous deeds, and she had Psalms 23 written on a scroll that she kept in her wallet for especially trying times. She was ready. As the bus stopped to make its Baltimore exchange, Hollis looked around and saw most of the passengers, including the man seated beside her, were asleep. She sunk deep into the confines of herself as she closed her eyes to make a quick prayer. She remained in a meditative state until the bus began moving. When she opened her eyes, there was a green interstate sign outside her window. Interstate North 95, New York. Keep right. Hollis bought a fish tank to spruce up her apartment and to provide a sort of visual stimulus in her humbly boring abode. Her computer station was the focal point of her room, as she didn't bother getting a television set. She had a pair of small gray speakers to either side of her laptop, a fax machine, paper shredder, scanner, and her landline phone, all situated on the only desk in the apartment. On the opposite side of the room was her sleeping quarters. When Hollis informed her father of her business plans and that she was getting her own place, he wished her well and warned her vehemently of the detriment to sleep while on this journey. Subsequently, Hollis bought a sleeping bag to which she could only get but so comfortable on the hardwood floor. She set up a candle vigil for her late Uncle Ernest and best friend Tricia near the head and kept an egg crate turned nightstand at the foot with her perfume and reading lamp and other miscellaneous items atop. Wherever she went, she hung her posters, Bob Marley, a SBU Lions banner, and black and white portrait of T.I. from the King album, the George Washington Bridge at night, and new to her collection, a 30 by 40 of Angela Davis. Hollis ate oatmeal because it was filling and cheap. She drank a lot of water because it cleansed the body, cleared her skin, and it was cheap. She bought her toilet paper, soap, and paper towels in bulk because it saved time and was cheap. She budgeted every penny and watched the money like a professional accountant. Her days were spent sewing, pressing, stitching, drawing, emailing, and researching, but none of her chores felt like work, or at least work as she had previously known it. There were no arbitrary deadlines. Her projects were subject to the public, which meant that her work manifested, defined her, all of which made diligence and proficiency a necessity. In a sense, there was no more Hollis Makeda Jordan, only Honeywell Urban Outfitters, only the businesswoman. Her thoughts, feelings, and emotions, one would need to analyze one of her completely beautiful design schemes to understand. 10 days later. Come on, pull up, Jason said, pulling down her folded legs, adding torturous extra resistance. Hollis cringed her face and tightened her grip on the frostbitten bar. When she cleared her chin over the top, she exhaled in brief relief as Jason released his stronghold. She lowered herself to do another rep. After their last set of pull-ups, they jogged from the monkey bars to Building 51 through the back door. You ready to do this, he asked, stretching his neck and loosening his shoulders at the landing of the first floor steps. Hollis was jogging in place. I keep telling you, I was born ready. Without as much as a word, Jason darted up the first flight of steps. Cheater, Hollis yelled before chasing after him. Hollis finally passed her father on the seventh floor and separated herself, so much so that she had fully caught her breath by the time her father met her on the roof. What you thought? I was going to be your rabbit? Jason's palms were stuck to either side of his waist. He wasn't concerned with responding in the least. He dropped to the surface of the roof. I ain't no rabbit. I'm a lion. I eat slow pokes like you for breakfast. Jason was finally able to speak after a couple of failed attempts. You got to be humble, baby. Hollis laughed, filled with pride. Oh, now I got to be humble, because I'm at the top of the food chain, huh? Jason smiled and looked at his growing daughter, who he could no longer beat in a foot race to save his life. She looked over the railing at Amsterdam Avenue. God's green earth, she said. Boy, do I feel good. 1 week later. Hollis swept down 125th Street with grace and glow. She had on a 3/4 length brown leather, blue jeans, and a pair of Cole Haan boots. Today, she couldn't help but smile. She was glad to be back home, back in the midst of the fly Harlem girls and New York hustlers with style. She felt a part of the world again. Oh my God, you're such a beautiful person. The woman draped in rags stared at Hollis from her urban campout like she'd seen a ghost. You look like an angel, she said. Hollis was compelled to stop, although stopping for such a woman made no sense, at least on a superficial level. Still, Hollis was in no position to judge the woman who had given her most sincere compliment of the day. Thank you, she said, glowing further. Let me just say this to you. I know you're a busy woman. I know you have many things to do, but let me say this. Uh-huh, Hollis uttered, looking up to analyze the renewing pedestrian traffic on Lenox Avenue. You ever watched The Wire, that show that come on HBO? Well, I don't watch TV like that, but I've seen the show, though. I know of it, Hollis said. You know that boy Omar is bad. He just be ripping and running. They can't get to him. Hollis looked up and out of attention once more, growing impatient and beginning to second guess stopping to converse with the homeless. You know he about to go to war with that boy Marlowe, she asked. Okay, lady, I gotta go. But you didn't hear me out. Yeah, but like you said, I'm a busy woman. Hollis began walking away. Just hear me out. Hollis turned back around, rolling her eyes, agitated and just about maxed out on patience. You know the song that they play at the beginning of the show? You gotta keep the devil down in a hole? She dipped into a drunken lean and snapped her fingers. All right, miss, enjoy the rest of your day, Hollis said. That's it. You gotta keep the devil down in a hole. As Hollis got to the corner, she began to wonder how a homeless woman would be in tune with a cable television show and its storyline. She kept walking, but her mind hadn't settled on the issue, and she began to search her mental for a reasonable answer. There was no cable in shelters or anywhere else she would have been in years. The woman was clearly homeless as she was lying on the ground when Hollis passed. Hollis turned around to see if the lady was bothering any other pedestrians and discovered that she was no longer there. 9:38 p.m. the same night. Hollis ran to her phone, resting on the desk, and dried her hands before picking it up. "Peace, black woman," Tekk greeted. "Hey, daddy, what's up? How you?" "I'm blessed. I can't complain." "I hear that." Jason sounded happy. He paused as if expecting her to elaborate, but she didn't. "So things coming along, huh?" he asked. "The Lord's promises come to pass, all of them. You know that." Hollis sounded enthused, and her father wanted a part of it. "Oh, I know. Trust me, I know. The question is, to what extent do you know? Because Allah is stern. He's strict. He is forgiving, the all-forgiving, most merciful. But he has laws. He has ways and prescribed periods. And he smiles upon righteous deeds, sacrifices in his name." Hollis kept quiet. Every so often, her father's words were passionate and relevant enough to warrant her full attention, and she would give it to him. When they were face to face, she would stop everything she was doing and look directly into his loving eyes. In recent years, circumstances changed, but not the bond and respect. Hollis muted the volume on her computer and turned up the volume on her cellular phone. "You trying to fast with NYCMC this Ramadan?" "Fast with NYCMC?" Hollis asked. "Islam is a brotherhood and a sisterhood. We are commanded to help one another in righteousness. God has prescribed for us a period of self-restraint and enlightenment." Hollis did some quick pondering, then waved her hand as if her father could see. "I don't know if I'm ready to fast, Daddy. Maybe next year," she said. "Next year?" She shook her head, knowing that he was about to blow things out of proportion, as usual, and she didn't feel like getting into it with him. "Daddy, let me call you back after I finish doing this thing real quick." "Whatever." Hollis put her cell phone down, and moments later, the glass on the table began to tremble to a vibration of another incoming call. She looked at the display screen. Although she deleted his contact information out of her cell phone after she convinced herself that he was cheating on her, there were some phone numbers that you just don't forget. Reggie. She missed him, and she was sure to let her voice reflect that. "How you doing, sweetness?" he asked. His voice forced her to sit up and a smile. "How you, Bunny?" Reggie laughed. "Bunny, I ain't hear that in a minute," he said. "My baby, you okay?" "I'm good. How you been?" "Blessed, tremendously blessed," Hollis answered. "Blessed? Blessed," she repeated with certainty. "Why blessed? Why not good, fine? Why blessed?" Reggie asked. "I'm blessed because—" Hollis second-guessed herself. Then she decided to speak her mind, as Reggie would need to understand that she wasn't the same person that he left in college. "Blessed because I know God." Unit 3, Chapter 4. "I fuck with you. You be on some other shit, but I fuck with you." Rosie Gomez. Date, February 16th, 2008. Hollis sat at a kitchen table and looked out of the window onto 167th Street. Thick, heavy snow was falling on the Bronx. She had to go out there. She wished to God that she didn't, but she had missions to complete for the day. She needed to pick up 3 dozen inseam labels. She was meeting Reggie for lunch on his break, and she had to go to the post office. The distinct ring of the landline phone summoned her. "You want me to get that?" Hollis rose up and placed a cup of peppermint tea on the table. "No, I got it. I got to answer that phone like a professional," she explained as she smiled at her sister. She lifted the cordless handset. "Hello, Honeywell Urban Outfitters. How may I help you?" She lent an open ear to the phone as she watched Gwinn scroll through her extensive art library mounted on her wall unit. She checked the watch to see how much time she had before she had to leave out. "Oh yeah, how much was I approved for?" she asked into the phone. "Okay, well send me the information in the mail. I'll certainly take a look at it." Hollis crept up on Gwinn and played with her curly hair. "No, I don't handle business like that over the phone. Send me the information in the mail and I'll take a look at it, okay?" "Okay, thank you." She hung up the phone. "What happened?" "I was supposedly pre-approved for a business line of credit," she informed Gwinn as she took a look at the book in her hand. "The Da Vinci Code. You read it? Nah, I seen the movie though, Gwinn answered. Okay, cool. Hollis turned to a wall unit with a certain degree of pride. These are some of the works that help me understand God. You should take a look at them sometime. Gwinn examined the cover of Most Def's Black on Both Sides album, then Jersey Monet's Most High single, then a psychology textbook before she removed the beautifully decorated gold and black Quran. What's this? She asked. Girl, how you Jason Jordan's child and don't know what this is? Gwinn opened the book to a section reserved by an elaborate bookmarker. Daddy wasn't there for me like he was for you. Hollis looked at her, but Gwen's eyes were conveniently in the book. She looked away before dismissing whatever she was going to say. All right, I gotta go. You want to spend the night tonight? Can I? Of course you can, sis. Hollis ran her errands, then took the 3 train to Chambers Street to meet Reggie. He clocked out for his lunch break, then pretended to be nice for the first few minutes after they left his office building. They were walking down the Avenue of Americas on the west side of Manhattan when Hollis popped the question. So, what you want to eat? I don't know. It's up to you, sweet. He caught himself as to not refer to Hollis by her old pet name that he gave her in high school. It's okay. You could be nice to me, she suggested, working her way towards softening him up. And it came to pass that God delivered his promises to Hollis, perfecting that which concerned her. Honeywell clothes was selling well on the streets and in a few retail stores throughout NYC and in Virginia. The company website was averaging close to 4,000 hits per week, and about 5% of her visitors were buyers. It came to pass that Hollis found herself living out visions she had as a young girl, or as she often put it, she was living her dreams. It came to pass that Hollis struck what was at the time the perfect harmonizing balance between business and pleasure. It came to pass that Hollis was approved for a vendor's ID license from the city, and she established a business center via a 6x2 table on 125th Street. Now Hollis was turning her attention and energy to getting the love of her life back. I missed you, Hollis said out of the clear blue sky. She could tell that his silence was a testament to his lack of clever, harsh repartee, so she beat him to it. What, you thinking of the meanest way to tell me to go fuck myself? Yup. His response was sharp and firm, as if he were on the edge of exploding. Reggie always did have a fiery temper. To bring the situation to a harmonizing balance, Hollis turned up a level of sweetness. Come here. As if moving on the chessboard, she employed a seductive, concerned voice. She reached out in every sense of the word, extending for a hug and putting her pride aside, as if she was silently saying sorry, as if she were reaching out for a new beginning. Yo, Hollis, what you want from me? I feel like you got an ulterior motive or something. What the fuck is up? First, I want you to stop being so mad. I don't like seeing you upset, Bunny. Reggie stopped dead in his tracks and threw his hands in the air. Oh my God, why you trying to talk all sexy and shit? Hollis could tell by the weakening in his voice that he'd be folding soon. She simply smiled, careful not to reveal her entire hand. Reggie deflated. Check. I don't see why you checking for me again. What, you fucked up in college or something? Reggie inquired. Hollis placed a tender hand on his shoulder. Can you stop cursing, please? She asked, flicking a few of her lock-in dreads back. I missed you, she said. He sucked his teeth as they crept past the entrance of Battery Park. His hands were sunk into his forest green parka. He could only look at his former best friend. Through his eyes, she could still read him like a book. His anger was diluted. He was ready to hear her out, ready to submit. I miss you too, sweetness, he professed. Checkmate. 12 days later. Every time I come up with an idea, he finds something wrong with it. It's too expensive. We don't know nothing about it, or something. It's always something. Although Rosie wasn't directly talking to Hollis, Hollis could feel her trying to reach out to her. Rosie's body language and antics were directed towards Amanda, who was sitting in the entrance of Building 55 on a beat-up leather chair, firing another blunt. So now, I'm like, fuck it. I just want to fall back and play my position and let him run it how he see fit. I hear that, Amanda said between sharp inhales of smoke. Hollis asked, well, why you need his approval to manifest the ideas in your head? Rosie looked at Hollis, who was standing near the mailboxes looking out of the windows, and timidly shrugged her shoulders. I don't know, she said. It was in the mid-30s in New York City, but the sun was out, and its glare seemed to be locked on Hollis's face through the lobby window, complimenting her golden tone. I mean, what were you thinking about doing? She asked. I don't know, like that nutcracker shit. Yup, Amanda quickly recalled as she passed the blunt to Rosie and exchanged places with her in the door. I been told Gary we could get money selling liquor in the hood. He was like, nah, he'd rather go out there and play hardball and risk it all. Yeah, but sister, you know where the liquor store is. You can go buy your own blender and count your own money. You don't need him? Yeah, Hollis, but everybody needs help. Then come see me. Fuck that. Let's get together. I'll help you develop whatever plans you got in your head. I'm in the business of getting shit done, Hollis said. Rosie smiled and passed the blunt to Hollis. I fuck with you. You be on some other shit, but I fuck with you though. 10:44 p.m. the same night. Hollis rose from a deep, coma-like sleep to discover the sun had set. She tried unsuccessfully to find some source of time before burying her face back into a pillow as she realized that despite the time, she'd be pulling an all-nighter. She unraveled from her sleeping bag and gathered herself before standing and bearing witness to the streets outside her window. The poverty-stricken city and her inhabitants hadn't gone to sleep yet. Hollis could see a brother pushing a shopping cart full of bottles across the street. A nurse in green scrubs and white sneakers waiting at the streetlight to turn in her favor. Visibly exhausted from a day's work, Hollis gave thanks that she was exempt from the realities of the cold world, at least for tonight. For this night, at least, Hollis's path was smooth. She was charged with stitching 30 patches on the sleeves of a line of worker shirts she was designing. She also had to finish the outline for her official business plan for her meeting with the local SBA representative on Thursday. Hollis put a pot of water on the stove for her tea, then went back to her desk to power up her computer. She pulled out a briefcase while she waited for her laptop to boot up and went to work. 3 days later. You ain't even all that tough, you know that? Hollis said. Jason looked over the top of the computer monitor at his daughter like she was crazy. Say what? He asked. You heard me. I've been hitting the gym hard body. I think I could take you, Hollis said, bouncing from side to side with adrenaline. Jason laughed, seemingly convincing himself that she was just playing, and he went back to reading. I'm serious. I may not be able to throw the hands with you like that, but I think I could hang in there with a few minutes for you with a tussle. Jason was tickled with laughter. He sat back in his seat and folded his arms. All right now, if you feeling froggy, go on and take a leap. Hollis ran at him and punched him in his back. Come on. Jason met her on her feet and flashed his fist. Hollis, you better sit your ass down. You gonna get dropped, I'm telling you. He reached behind him and squeezed his back muscle. Ah, that shit hurt. She figured it to be the perfect time to charge at him while his guard was down. She bolted forth like a woman going mad. Jason planted firmly at the floor as if prepared to meet her head on. As she came rushing in, he took a step sharply to the side. Hollis crashed violently into the wall unit, knocking several shelves down and its contents before falling down herself. Jason looked down at her. Allah loves not the aggressor. You remember that, little dude. Hollis rolled over on her backside and looked up at her father, who decided to use her folly as a teaching point. It's not me against you, it's you against your enemies, and you attack only after measures of peace have been fully exhausted. Not because you've been out there doing pull-ups every other morning and you feeling strong and shit. Hollis returned to her feet and left her adrenaline on the ground. Daddy, you play too rough, she said as she rubbed a swelling knot on her head. Come here. He wrapped his arm around her and kissed her on her head. You know your daddy loves you? Yes. You don't have a clue, child. Not a single clue. He kissed her again and looked her square in her eyes. You like my pit bull. Daddy, you say such sweet things to me, Hollis responded sarcastically, still visibly in pain. You know how dudes be walking around the hood with their little diesel ass dogs, knowing they can't be touched? That's how I felt when I was walking around with you as a kid. You're like a shining beacon of peace. It was like we couldn't be touched. Hollis's studio apartment was dim, lit only by means of nature. It was close to 7 o'clock and the sun had just completely set, indicating that another spring in New York City was on the horizon. Hollis began to stare blankly at the area rug and a far-off thought. After several moments, she looked up at her father, who was looking at the computer monitor with an easy look of astonishment on his face, reading her screensaver. Patiently persevere. April 2nd, 2008. For as far back as she could remember, Hollis was sitting in some boring classroom at this time of the day. She'd been waiting to see what goes on in the free world on the first warm day out of the winter. She showered quickly. When she finished in the bathroom, she threw on a white and purple Armani exchange outfit, slapped on the sunglasses, and sprayed a dab of Burberry Brit on the top of her chest and wrists before floating out of the door. 2 p.m. the same day. Damn, baby. A heavy-set hooligan in a white tank top stopped and glazed at Hollis as she sassed past him on Frederick Douglass Boulevard. You look like a tall glass of good. What I gotta do to get a taste? Hollis smiled by accident. She looked over her shoulder and saw him jogging up behind her. What's good? I know you're trying to give me your number. Hollis laughed again. No, I ain't want to mislead you, but you made me smile, she said. Yeah, but that ain't got to stop you from giving me your math. That sound like two positive things. No, I can't, she said, still giggling. I just got back with my boyfriend last month. I can't do that. Damn, Ma, ain't nobody ever teach you about spreading the wealth, distributing the wealth? He asked, now laughing at even himself. No, but if you need a custom t-shirt to complement those broad shoulders, visit my website. Or you can check out one of my friendly locations. Hollis gave him a business card, smiled, and walked away. We got cell phones. I got them new T-Mobiles. We got Sprints, Boosts. We got them iPhones for you. Come check us out. I got DVDs, 1 for $5, 2 for $8, 3 for $10. Hollis removed herself from the pedestrian flow when she reached 8th Avenue, placing her back amidst a department store display window. Get your Honeywell design gear right here. Support black business. Spend $50 to get a free gift basket. Hollis spied on Dominique and her cousin Ashley for a few moments, using a multitude of people on 125th Street as a cover. Hollis sought to verify that they were putting in the maximum effort going forward. Get your Honeywell design shirts here. Newest styles and designs on the streets. Free gift basket with a $50 purchase. Hollis didn't wait 1 minute before walking up to Dominique, who was flipping through one of her magazines and chatting away on the phone at the table. What's up, honey? When you coming from? Hollis didn't bother answering Ashley. She stood in front of Dominique and folded her arms. Hello? Hold on, Dominique said into her cell phone. What's up? She asked Hollis. D, I thought we talked about this. If you're going to be manning the table, you need to be out here on some shit, not on the phone. Relax, yo. I was just sitting down for a second. My feet hurt. D, I was just watching you over there and I seen you on the phone chilling for like 5 minutes. Y'all just got here an hour ago. How your feet hurting already? Dominique raised her phone. Yo, let me call you back. People out here acting like this a 500 fortune company or something. Oh, no, she didn't, Hollis thought to herself. She let her body language temporarily convey her dismay as Dominique listened to whatever the person was saying on the other end. Okay, all right, girl, I'ma go. She looked up at Hollis. Now, what's up? Hollis clapped her hands with energy as she spoke. This ain't the place for breaks. It's prime time at Harlem. You see how many pedestrians is out here? Come on. Hollis pumped her brakes as she realized she was in a state of self-perpetuating anger. She looked away from Dominique, who didn't seem much affected anyway, and stopped wasting her time. Hollis collected the bank from Ashley and advised the girls that they could keep 50% commission on whatever they sold for the rest of the day. Hollis walked over to Grant Projects, which was about 10 minutes away. Rosie and Amanda had migrated from their winter spot in the lobby to the park in front of Building 50, where they were sitting with a few Jessica sisters. The kids were out of school. Some were gathered at the ice cream truck on the curb, some were running on the playground, and others were just doing their own thing. Hollis had grown to view her old housing projects as its own little ghetto world of manifested lessons. There was drama throughout every fragment of concrete. Every issue that came about seemed to be a matter of highest regard to each individual. Everyone was feeling the economic decline of America and making do however they could. Everyone was a character and a beautiful chapter and a beautiful story of Harlem. They gonna tear these projects down in a few years. Y'all know that? Then where we gonna go? Mrs. Ella asked while twirling her old cane on the ground in front of her. I know my cousin talking about moving back down south, either Atlanta or North Carolina. Shit, it seems like everybody trying to do that. That's why I'm telling y'all need to go out and vote for Barack Obama. He's the answer, Mrs. Ellis said, pointing an adamant elder finger at Amanda. Hollis could no longer keep a reserve. She'd been listening and learning for the past half hour, keeping what was real and laughing past and occasionally challenging the fake. Barack ain't the answer. God is the answer. Black people been running from here and there for too damn long. Didn't we get up here running from the oppression of the South in the first place? We gotta fight wherever we are, lightly or heavily armed. We gotta fight. Fight who? It is what it is. Economics. It's Amanda snapped her fingers trying to find the words of her choice. What's that word? Profitable? Yeah, profitable. It's profitable to push us out. So that's what they do. They want the land and they gonna come get it until our black asses take a serious stand and push back for what's fair. You live on God's green earth, not some fucking man's. You don't gotta move your ass because they say so or when it's profitable for them. That's not the way. God created the earth for just ends. You're entitled to life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness, just like them. What if we need to move them from our neighborhoods because it was profitable for us? I heard that, Mrs. Ellis said, smirking. Hollis had her undivided attention. But you saying fight like we about to go on some damn jihad or some Black Panther shit. A black man or woman can get whatever the hell they want in America. All that oppression shit is a thing of the past. Shit. Take a look at where you live and how you got there. You been in Grant, what, 20 years? Your mother been here another 20, 30 on top of that? Another 20 or 30 for your grandmother? It's fucked up here. It's been fucked up here. Barack ain't gonna change that shit because Barack ain't from here. We from here, so it's gotta be on our agenda to change our hood. And I ain't talking about no damn jihad, which means struggle in the ways of God. We gonna have to persevere through some shit, side by side, together. We gonna have to stop wearing the enemy's clothing together. We gonna have to start patronizing black business together. And the wealthy among us is gonna have to give the poor among us some sort of authentic opportunity. Uh-oh, she on her side of Shakur shit today. Whatever, Hollis responded to Amanda and kept it moving. We need to negotiate peace talks between our brothers who out here killing each other every night. We need to inspire them with the word and let them know who they really are. We need to clean up our own neighborhoods and our own homes and take responsibility for the mischief that our young are spreading. We need to be civil and fair, honest and accountable. I mean, what the fuck? We can plant anything in the ground and it'll grow. It'll grow in Harlem just like it'll grow in Idaho, just like it'll grow in China. But we rather kill, steal, and hustle than take the money we make and go and spend it with the first person that don't look like us. The moment Hollis realized that she had the full attention of everyone around, her fountain of articulation ran dry. She looked over to Rosie, surprised to discover that she too was listening. Mrs. Ella and Mrs. Brown, who Hollis knew since she was a child, were listening, among with Lene from Building 57. In her heart, Hollis wished that the Lord would remove the spotlight for a second to allow her to gather her thoughts so she could hit her mark with certainty. There were too many eyes on her for her liking, but she understood that the Lord was watching her, testing her to see how she was going to proceed. Hollis prayed for attention, which would drive more sales and more salesmen achieving more goals, getting in harmony with the infinite, the elite, attaining access to the resources that she watched being squandered in college and using them for true good. No one else chose to speak during a brief moment of silence, unusual on this side of town. So Hollis continued. You seek from God's bounty, not no fucking man's, she said. He's our sustainer. He provides you with water, meat, grain, fruits, and the best, excuse me, the only resources. That's definitely Architekk's daughter right there. The small crowd laughed in unison, finally easing the tense rig of the situation. Amanda pushed Hollis in her best attempt to show some love. Miss Brown raised her left hand and slapped Hollis 5. Rosie squeezed Hollis' shoulder. Come on, girl, let's go smoke. You getting too serious on me. May 11th, 2008. Can I speak to you for a second? Hollis put her nephew back in the crib and followed Lucretia out of the room. She could feel an unusual negative vibe from Lucretia since she got to the house and was interested in what she had to say. She followed her through the hallway. Lucretia turned around when she got to the front door. Is your friend fucking my husband? Hollis's heart skipped a beat, though one couldn't tell by her face. Lucretia, you asking the wrong Is your friend, Lucretia interjected, waving a single finger in front of Hollis's face with a short fuse, not in the mood for bullshit, fucking my husband. Yo, let me tell you something. I'm stronger than you, I'm faster than you, and I'm probably crazier than you. So if you want to box, we can get it in. You understand me? Lucretia folded her arms, leaning back and looked into Hollis' eyes as she continued. Now, as I already told you, you're asking the wrong person. If you want to know if Junior is having an affair with Renee, then Hollis stopped speaking mid-sentence as she saw Lucretia's demeanor harden at the realization that Hollis knew Renee was the suspect without her ever saying so. Lucretia stepped back as if she thought about it first. Then she cocked back and punched Hollis in the face. Hollis stumbled backwards into a set of plastic storage bins behind her. Lucretia advanced to finish off what she started. Hollis raised one of her powerful legs and kicked the wind out of Lucretia's chest. Her body fell to the ground with such force that the thud of her head pounding the ground behind her was the final evidence that there had been a skirmish. Stupid bitch, Hollis yelled over her body as Gwinn and the babysitter Amanda came rushing in from the other room. That's what happens to the aggressor. Look at you, laid out. 4 days later. Dominique, Ashley, and the neighboring vendors could tell that Hollis was frustrated, and they left her alone accordingly. She'd been sitting on the trunk end of Dominique's car for the past 10 minutes, listening to her MP3 player in her own world. She snatched her earphones out and decided to get back in the game. Y'all want to take y'all lunch? She asked Dominique as she handed her $20 and began tidying up. I got this. Dominique and Ashley walked to Popeyes. A trio of teen girls approached Hollis's table as she was straightening up a pile of t-shirts. How y'all doing? She asked. They declined to respond, preoccupied with skimming through the designs. The young lady in the middle grabbed one of the white camouflage hats and held it up on one of her girls. These shits is ugly, right? Excuse me? Hollis asked. Look at this shit. Looks like she made this herself. Hollis snatched the hat from her grasp. Give me my fucking hat. Bitch, I'll slap the shit out of you if you ever do some shit like that again. One of the girls walked around the side of the table. Hollis took a step back, apprehensive to throw the first punch and commence a 3-on-1 fist fight. One of the other girls began closing in on the opposite side of the table. Hollis took a few more steps back before bumping into the car behind her. Her momentum dropped over the hood of the vehicle. She looked up before covering her head from the blows to come. All three of the girls were closing in. She curled herself up and waited. Hollis tightened herself up so vehemently that the few seconds of waiting had become more agonizing than the possibility of a tussle. She looked up hesitantly through her forearms and saw no imminent danger. She lowered her guard and found two brothers in front of her using their bodies as human barricades. Y'all not harming this sister while we're here. No, she want to talk all jazzy and shit. Let that bitch fight. We were watching the situation. This woman instigated no problems with you. Hollis stood behind the Israelite brothers, whose book stand she patronized from time to time, and fixed her hair. Yo, forget that bitch, Demisha. Let's get out of here. I'm telling everybody not to buy these whack-ass shirts. Hollis packed up early and walked over to Grant. Today, it wasn't about business or learning. She just wanted to chill out with the family and friends she rediscovered in the projects. She needed reassurance not to take things too seriously. Least she should forget why she became an entrepreneur in the first place. Hollis bared witness to the beautiful brown people and their dealings in the heart of Harlem, 125th Street. She found discouragement in the carelessness and unrestricted freedom of the streets. She had trouble facing her website fees, a decrease in sales, creative ideas weren't coming along so easily nowadays. Nevertheless, Hollis found encouragement in the same faces. If her brothers and sisters could keep going through their troubles, she was obligated to. Hollis could see at least 4 police cruisers at the curb of 126th Street and Broadway. She saw yellow police lines marking off the walkway in front of Building 57, holding back a crowd of onlookers. The light rain seemed to mess in a state of mellow reality with the police lights. From about 50 feet away, Hollis was able to make out Rosie's head lying on his side, eyes open and void of life. Hollis's chest sunk in. Her legs stopped as she stared into Rosie's eyes. She could only hope she made it, that somehow, some way, Rosie made her peace with her maker before whoever got to her got to her. She walked up behind Miss May from the 13th floor of her old building and continued to stare in silence. For the next few days, Honey stayed in her cave in the Bronx. Although consistent overspending had jeopardized her savings and livelihood, she went shopping and bought a bed, television, and over 10 bootleg DVDs. She got caught up in sleep and Hollis time. She watched music videos, talked on the phone with Reggie, and played solitaire on her computer. Hollis took a break from exercising, stretching, and running. She didn't pray or make any attempt to communicate with God. She didn't know how to address him. In her heart, she wanted to question him for snatching Rosie away just when she felt like she was beginning to have a positive impact on her. But she had been vehemently warned against such behavior, and therefore, she just sought to ignore his presence and guidance until she cooled off. Tonight, she laid in front of the television with frustration and grief pulling at her chest, re-examining the authenticity of her path and purpose. When the infomercials, law firm, and get-rich-quick ads that dominated the late-night airways became depressing, Hollis cut off the TV and made her way into the kitchen. She grabbed a pint of butter pecan ice cream out of the freezer and went back to flop across her bed. She was bored out of her mind and perceiving nothing to do. 3 weeks later, Hollis sat in the front row next to her grandmother, who was dressed in an elaborate peach and white dress. She tried to remain congenial and was doing well, so long as she didn't look at George, who she didn't know and didn't trust with her mother. With her Uncle Leon by her side, the niece came strutting down the aisle to the praise of the church organ. Hollis stood among her family and friends and played her role. She peeped through Denise's lace veil and wondered to what extent her happiness ran. She wondered how far she would go to adhere to the oath she was about to make before God. Her mother's physical being was a testament to the sheer elegance of a woman. She glided with grace further into the church. Her hips swayed to either side, and her posture was without flaw. She looked directly into her only child's eyes as she passed her and spoke beneath her breath. "I love you too," Hollis said, now beginning to tear up. As the dogmatic service began, Hollis excused herself to take pictures for her personal collection. When the memory on her digital camera filled, She searched through her flicks to see which one she could delete to free up space from the memory card. When she was ready to resume, she looked around the back of the church to see where she can get her next unique shot from. Her blood flow plummeted when she saw her father leaned against the wall in a white suit. She turned the camera off and hurried over. Jason smiled, obviously aware of her presence, then went back to observing the ceremony. Before Hollis reached him, she saw him turn his head to the other side of the pillar he was leaned against to address someone. "Yeah, she's a beautiful woman," he said to Stump, who Hollis could see slouched over in a fancy chair in the hallway. Jason reached out to embrace Hollis as she got close. "How you doing?" "I'm good, how you?" she asked as she wrapped her arm around his waist. "Oh, peace is with me. Peace is with me." The two stood up and listened to the ceremony going on before them. Stump walked over and stood up behind them in silence. Stumpy, Hollis, and Jason each looked on, lost in their own thoughts. Hollis was taken out of her zone when she heard her father exhale with a faint laugh, which he probably meant to keep to himself. He looked at Denise as Hollis looked at him. He laughed again, then excused himself from the premises. May 28th, 2008. "That was a beautiful testament," Hollis said as she ejected the disc from the DVD player. "Testament?" Gwinn asked, looking for an explanation. "Yeah, those people on that mountain for over 70 days. No food, nothing to drink. And they made it. They lived. God saw them through. That's a testament to the strength of the will of man and the mercy of God." Gwinn tossed another handful of popcorn in her mouth and looked at her sister strangely. "If you say so," she said. "Shut up," Hollis said, pushing Gwinn and toppling the bowl between her legs. "See what you made me do?" Gwinn threw a fistful of popcorn at her. "Shoot, I work hard to get those kernels popped just right. Get the right mixture of butter and salt. You a hater." They enjoyed a moment of girlish giggling. Hollis stuck the Alive movie back in front of the AZ Pieces of a Man album in her God library. "Shut up and get dressed. Let's go get another bag of popcorn before the corner store closed." Gwinn stood up from the bed, put on her sneakers, and pulled her curly brown hair back through her North Carolina Tar Heels baseball cap. Hollis cut off the television, changed the t-shirt, and they headed out. They bought popcorn, milk, butter, a loaf of bread, soda, and a couple of bags of chips. Although the sun had set, it was still over 80 degrees in the Bronx. Hollis stopped to open a can of soda she bought to quench her thirst. Gwinn walked on. She was staring at a makeshift wall on a construction site that was serving more as a poster bulletin than whatever its intended purpose was. Hollis walked up to her holding a grocery bag between her arms and looked on. Critically acclaimed new album from NYC's own Architekk, The Dread. July 21st, 2008. On thebooksent.com.
When
1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. 1, 2. Let me get 'em 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. Rents past due and the marshals want me out. I look to the sky, yo, God, was this about? I thought I was your son, you protect me and hold me. Now I look back, grateful on how you hold me. Things you showed me along the way made me unconquerable, strong the man I am today. No way I let them slander your name. These niggas praise cash and cocaine. We ain't running the same lane. It's strange, I go from town to town, it's the same thing. Poor people losing at the same game. We in a strange land, confiscated by Uncle Sam. But you got a father in heaven, fam, so I know who I am. Yeah, I got knowledge of self, I know my history, therein lies my wealth.